Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some breaking news coming out of the state of Louisiana earlier this evening as five-star wide receiver, number one wide receiver in the country, I might add, for the 2026 cycle, Tristan Keys officially makes his commitment to the LSU Tigers. And really, if you think about it, this is kind of what Brian Kelly's been doing. This is him going about his business as the head coach of LSU, where you look, I mean, he's done a really good job of bringing high school talent into this program. Talent overall, even if you look into the portal, like I think there have been some high profile misses. Bryce Underwood, obviously, not landing a defensive tackle in the portal, or at least a top tier defensive tackle in the portal heading into the 2024 season. But if you look at the body of work, almost any program in the country would kill to have what Brian Kelly's been able to do. I mean, he bringing in elite high school classes. And it starts with the state of Louisiana. You see, he dominates that state, and obviously he has the advantage over any other coach, being the head coach at LSU. But again, you look at the top 10 kids in the state of Louisiana, they're by and large, the bulk of them are going to LSU. And when he wants to go step out of the state and hit on his big dogs, he's been able to do it. DJ Pickett in 25, Tristan Keys, obviously, in 2026, has been really successful in the state of Texas. So you look at what Brian Kelly's been doing, builds really, really good high school classes, retains the bulk of his players, I'd say, and in terms of like who they're building around each year, doesn't lose them to the portal. And then obviously, especially in 24, where they really kicked into another gear, has shown the ability to go out and get the best kids in the portal as well. So I think his ability to combine every avenue of talent acquisition, retention, portal, high school classes, all of it, I think LSU fans have a lot to be excited for under Brian Kelly. And 2024, I don't want to I think it's a huge year for LSU. You look, I think they have the team to do it. This defense finally looks the part. I look like maybe have some questions about the depth of the defensive line, but you see some of those young guys, Relaford, McKinley, like they're starting to get the right type of guys into that room or into that side of the ball. And the offense, obviously, with the stability at quarterback and all the weapons they have around them, should be really good as well. So I think LSU fans might be in for a really fun 2024 season and hopefully can build on the momentum they've been able to build in the transfer portal and now obviously into the 2026 recruiting class. So before we get too deep into what Tristan Keys brings to this program, and I want to get into him because he is very good. Just wanted to thank all the LSU fans for all the support. If you guys have been rocking with the channel for a while, you can probably tell we like talking this LSU program, think very highly of what Brian Kelly's been doing. And we really do appreciate all the support, all the comments, all the interactions. We love all of it, and we really, really do appreciate it. So, thank you guys for all of it. And now let's get into Tristan Keys, because it's obviously what this video is going to be about. I think the thing that obviously kind of strikes you, and this probably is kind of obvious. You see, he's the number one wide receiver in the country, a top 5 prospect by most people's metrics. Yeah, you kind of know you're getting a guy who's really complete, but I think you see the size, speed, athleticism combination. It's pretty much like if you ask me to build a wide receiver in the lab, something like Tristan Keys pops out. The ability for him to move the way he moves at the size he is, that 6'2" and a half, 180, 185 pounds. Like, I mean, he really does look the part. And LSU has done a really good job of developing wide receivers like him. So even with the buzz around some other programs like Tennessee and frankly pretty much every other school in the country, it's not surprising that he'd pick LSU because, again, you look at what they've done with some really good wide receivers, putting guys into the draft, developing them out of high school. This has been a program where LSU, or wide receivers, I should say, have really thrived. So moving on to kind of the next thing, I just wanted to get into some of the film, if you will, and kind of check out some of the skill sets I think LSU is getting with a guy like Tristan Keys. And frankly, to me, I could talk a lot about the athleticism. I think everyone kind of knows when you're getting this kind of level of prospect, you're getting, he can run, he can accelerate, he's got burst, got all the things you're kind of looking for. One thing that kind of stands out is the body control, though. And you look at what kind of separates, it feels like some wide receivers, guys who are really good athletes, but maybe not premier wide receivers. It's kind of having some of those almost soft skills, if you will. Again, you look at this play, just running it back real quick. Like to have this awareness, set the defensive back up, lean into him a little bit, and then be able to push off and make that catch. Like just really, really impressive stuff, especially from a guy who is on the bigger side, especially at the high school ranks and kind of still developing into what he's going to be. So I think you look in combination with some of those more, I think, common traits, if you will. He does have a really good understanding of how to run routes. It feels like has the body control you're kind of looking for, has the ability to track the ball deep, make catches through traffic, kind of all those, yeah, skills that kind of separate, I think, the good from the great. But that's not to say he doesn't have some of those other elite traits too. And you look at what he can do after the catch, that is another thing that at that size really stands out. And you see the comfort, the smoothness, catching the ball, being able to accelerate, and then obviously has like that sense of being a runner. It's not just, yeah, if he gets in the open field, he's really fast, but being able to set blocks up, read blocks, make the right cuts, like again, those things that I feel like aren't maybe the first things you think about when you're thinking wide receiver. You think, yeah, speed, ability to work over the top, some of those things. But he does have those kind of like developed skill sets that I think a lot of young players, especially really, really good athletes who have always been able to rely on the fact that they're just faster, bigger than everyone else in the high school ranks. I think he's developed some of those nuances maybe at a little bit higher level. And frankly, a lot of prospects coming out of high school, especially guys who are just going into their senior year. And then the last one, this is like maybe just a special one that, I mean, we talk about athleticism and kind of what you want to see your receivers, how you want to see them be able to move. Like, yeah, that acceleration off the line, being able to avoid the press coverage and then just work over the top and get deep and just, again, make the wide or cornerback look like he's moving in quicksand. Again, maybe you could say those are table stakes for what you want your wide receivers to look like. I mean, Tristan Keys, premier athlete, I think really well developed wide receiver, has a diverse skill set. I mean, they really do, I think, have a special one, this LSU program, in what Tristan Keys is kind of bringing. And then just kind of to finish up on maybe where LSU seems to be going, I think you got to think this really is going to be helpful with Bo Bentley. And I think my brother talked about this in the last episode he did. It does feel like LSU may have set their sights on the quarterback for this 2026 class, or at least one of their top targets. Bo Bentley, I think the trend has been pretty good for LSU in terms of where maybe if you got your ears to the ground, where that or what kind of you're hearing, if you will, with that. But I got to think you look at what Tristan Keys, along with some other wide receivers in this class, led by Kenny Darby and Ja'Kai Anderson, I gotta think LSU is going to be able to have their pick of the litter, if you will, at quarterback, or at least kind of get one of their top targets. Because again, if you're a quarterback, I think it starts. You look at what LSU's been able to do in terms of building offensive lines, recruiting that positions, but also the fact that now you look in this class alone, you have an extremely dynamic group of wide receivers. You had Arlen Berry, obviously from last year, running back. This should be an offense under Joe Sloan that is really dynamic, and I think it'll be really attractive to a or to a quarterback, I should say. Along with the fact that you look at some of the offensive line targets, Darius Gray, Emmanuel Achano, you have some really interesting irons in the fire, if you will, that again, with all this momentum, it certainly wouldn't be surprising to see a couple of those guys commit to LSU. So I got to think this will be a really attractive destination for a quarterback in the 2026 class. So that'll kind of be at least where I'm looking next is where is that kind of finish out? What type of quarterback do they bring in? And it certainly feels like Bo Bentley, that at least to us is probably the guy who LSU seems to be zeroing in on. And it certainly wouldn't surprise me if they were able to land him. So again, just looking LSU, I think most people who can be objective and maybe keep their personal biases against Brian Kelly aside recognize that this program is going in a really, really good direction. So LSU fans certainly have a lot to be excited for. Hopefully you continue rocking with the boys because we will be covering this program and all the developments both on the field and off the field with the recruiting as things go on. So that'll wrap that up today. And thank you guys for watching. And we, again, really appreciate the LSU fans. Thank you.